ago, the beating heart of our people was a king who knew only victory. He wanted nothing more than an honorable death on the battlefield. Yet, none could match him, and so he wandered the earth, becoming lost in time and tide. Then we too lost our honest purpose, while silk-clad men sat upon the throne. But tremble now, all cities that lay under the stars, for out of the shadows and mists of the land of promise, our courage has been rekindled, our heart has returned, and the world will burn.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? It looks like we have two Johns in the comments right now. We got John Henry and John's Longbox. If anybody can hear me, let me know. I just always like to make sure that everybody can hear me before I start talking for an hour after my disaster about a year ago. So I'm going to go over the CROM the Destroyer campaign. As soon as I can get a comment from somebody, let me know that they can hear. Let's see if I finally figured out how to actually share my screen so that I can actually look at other tabs while I'm talking to you. So again, just give me a shout out. Thank you very much. Someone has just told me that they can hear me in the comments. Thank you very much. Okay, so if anybody wants to ask any questions about the campaign, I'm going to go over it, and I'm going to go over all the tiers just to make sure if you don't know what's going on with the campaign, or if you have questions about it, I can answer those. But I don't have two screens going at once here, so I have to actually switch over to the other screen in order to navigate the campaign. So I'll have to come back to the comments and answer your questions after I go over the campaign. So let's go over that first of all. So we've hit over $9,000 in our first 5 days of being on the campaign. I put together a 60-day campaign, so we have 55 days left, and right now we're at $9,096 USD, of course. So if you come to the first page, you will be able to take a look first at the trailer that you just saw, or the secondary trailer here. Both of those are on the campaign page. You want to watch those. The first one is about 1.5 minutes. The second one is about 45 seconds. So scroll down and take a look at take a look at everything we got here. I wanted to make sure that everybody could get a good idea of what the story is for CROM the Destroyer. So that's why I put an 11-page preview of lettered pages on the Indiegogo campaign, because a lot of people were asking me before. They're saying, you're the writer. I know that you're the producer, but you're the writer. We want to see how you can write. We want to see your writing. You're just showing us the art for your other campaigns, which was the Valiant Heroes and Thomas Valiant. So what I did with this one was I gave 11 pages of lettered art. They're actual pages from the book. The lettering is not finalized because I might tweak it a little bit here and there, but at the same time, you're going to get 11 pages. So you can read the first 11 pages of the book right off this campaign. Now, that's not too much. Some might say that's a lot, but this is a 66-page book minimum. If we hit our large stretch goals, we will be adding pages, but we have 66 pages, so 11's not too much. So we have the beautiful cover here by Nick Axe, of course, which we have our beautiful Fourth Age logo. Now, just one thing I wanted to point out. You see, we have the blue logo here because for the fantasy, we use the blue logo. If you'll notice on the superhero ones, we use the gold logo. That's the difference between the two. And we have our timeline here, which is the timeline where in the basic Thomas Valiant universe this fits. So if you want to read things in chronological order, you can do that. So here's page one of CROM the Destroyer. Everyone was thinking that this was the cover. Nope, this is page one. This is Jim O'Reilly's beautiful art. I don't know if I will do justice by reading my own actual writing, but it starts off. Some warriors fight like men possessed, sharpened to a sword's edge by 1,000 battles. They dance between unbound fury and the calculated precision of a chess master. Yet, even in their symphony of rage, they too know that death awaits them as every man must fall. So I wanted to do the Marvel thing where you do a great splash page introduction, but not only that, but you have a nice large, best as I could do, biggest I could put there, introduction as part of the story as your title for chapter one. This is chapter one, which is 22 pages, which is the size of a normal floppy comic. So you get 3 chapters, each 22 pages in this book. And again, there might be pages added to that. So I give you a page and then I give you something else within the book. Then I give you another page and then something else within the book. So here is one of our, this isn't a pinup poster. This is a oversized card. So this is Jim O'Reilly's character design for one of the characters that you're going to meet within the story. And I thought we have to use these character designs. So people that were asking, can I get pinup posters without the crease in them? And I said, no, I can't do that because I couldn't ship them. It would triple the cost. So I offered these as oversized cards. So they're going to be the size of a normal comic. That is to say, the size of a normal comic cover. It will fit in exactly with your graphic novel, in a sleeve, in a bag, in your box, or you can frame it if you want. So it's going to be nice and thick on heavy cardstock. So that's one of the 2 oversized cards. Then you get page 2 here. I'm not going to read all of the pages. Maybe I'll do that some other day. But here you have page 2, where the battle is continuing on, and you get introduced to some dialogue besides my what do you call that? It's not really, I guess, I'm not really an omniscient storyteller when I put these boxes in for myself here, but you get dialogue here as well, and you get introduced to our main character, which is just referred to as King because no one else calls him anything besides my king or the king within most of the book. Anyways, so here you got another one of the oversized cards. Again, this is comic sized, heavy card stock, and that's available on the campaign. Then you get page 3 with some overshots starting here with your 2 sides of the horses coming together and King down on the battlefield while his general is actually still on a horse moving forward. And of course, your shot of the royal guard here that King is going to take on in a couple of pages. Then we have the first of the pinup posters. This is the pinup poster by Henry Martinez. Again, Henry Martinez worked for Marvel. Back in the 90s, he did Ghost Rider for Marvel. I was introduced to him by Don Chin. Great guy. Love Don. I will promote Don at every turn. He's actually helping with the Thomas Valiant #2. He has a backup story he wrote for that we're going to be publishing. But again, this is Henry Martinez. Beautiful, beautiful art. Nice old style. I love it. So then we get page 4. And by the way, you notice here, this is what I always wanted to do, but forgot to do with my last couple of books, was to put in page numbers. Got to have those page numbers so that people can follow along. Just make sure you're not missing anything. There's no, ads to go through here. Whereas within something like Marvel or DC, you'll see ads and then you have to, figure out whether or not you're on the right page because something's not right. Anyways, let's go down a little more. Here's another one of the pinup posters. This is, what did I name this? This is Morning Light, pinup poster #1 by Luke. Again, this is connected to the Morning Light story, but this is extremely beautiful piece of art. He does pen drawing, and then I got it colored by Ibrahim, my colorist. So beautiful stuff there. Waiting for this to to load. So while I wait for this to load a little bit more, I'm going to go back to my StreamYard, see if I got what kind of comments here. If anybody has any questions before we move on, I will stay on that picture there for a little while. You see a couple of the characters that you're going to see. So who's in the chat here? Again, we have John Henry, and then we got John's Longbox. And I always shout out John's Longbox. He's a great fellow. You want a channel that gives you a showcase of good comics, older comics, and just gives you what you're missing within those old comics. If you don't know them, then go over to John's Longbox and subscribe to him. It's very down to earth. So let's see. Over 9,000. Yes, that's a good comment right here. Over 9,000. We went over 9,000 for our first 5 days. So that's great. We just need to keep this train going so that we can make sure that we fund not only this comic, but also you can have some seed money to start the next one in this series. So let's see. Elias says, backed it yesterday. Thank you very much. I appreciate every backer. So thank you very much. I was a bit confused with some of the perks, but I got the cloth map. Well, one of the things also with this is you can also get anything that's available as a perk when you check out as extra as well. But if you have any questions about the perks, you've already ordered. So if there's anything you want besides that, let me know. Let's see, scrolling down a little bit. And then I'm going to get to the end of the chat and then move back to the page, give you a little bit more preview. How am I advertising this book? Miss Maria says. I think that's a comment from Miss Maria. How am I advertising this book? Well, I do my own advertising, and that's my YouTube channel, and that's what we're doing right now. We're doing advertising. I do live streams. I talk about it just a little bit within my normal Saturday videos. I go on other live streams for other comic YouTubers and things like that. I did try for the Valiant Heroes to do an advertisement for that. I did it on Anime Abandoned, which is Sage's channel. I interviewed Sage and we talked about this, and he put it up there, but it really didn't give me any backers at all. I don't think there's anybody that came off of that advertisement that I paid for on Anime Abandoned that actually went to my book. So really, I don't know if I'll do that again. Maybe not. Maybe depends on if I can find something much more directed towards the kind of audience that I'm looking for. Anyways, John says thank you. Well, no problem, John. I always give you a good shout out if I can, because you're a great channel and people should go take a look at good comics that used to be, because you don't get them that way anymore. Unless, of course, you're coming over to CROM the Destroyer or books like that. We're trying to give you the old style. Everyone else is going for the 90s style. I'm going for the 80s style. I'm going for that. I don't know what you'd call it. It's the decade where it was between the simplistic, not so much campy, but the simplistic storytelling of the 70s and the extreme storytelling of the 90s. I think it's the sweet spot between those two. So that's what I'm trying to do. All right. Let's go back. Wait a minute. We got Robert saying that he got the cloth map as well. I love maps. So, yes, I'm hoping to, with all my campaigns, have a map, if at all possible. I didn't have one with the Valiant Heroes. But again, I love maps. And if I could at all possible have a map with a campaign, I will. All right, let's go back to the campaign here. We're taking a look at what page is this. And again, we'll scroll down, and this is page 5 because we have numbered pages. I love the numbered pages. So here we have King, and he's arming himself for battle, making sure that he has everything he needs in order to take on this group of unique individuals. Let's scroll down a little more to one of the other pinup posters. This is the second Morning Light pinup poster. Again, this is something that goes along with the Morning Light story, which is the text story that you can get either directly from me as a separate booklet, which includes, you can either get this as a pinup poster, or it will be a small version of it will be in the Morning Light story in the booklet. Along with the other piece. Again, that small booklet, which is my print story, you can either get from me or you can get through Iron Age magazine, which it's Anvil Iron Age magazine #2, which is coming out I think their campaign is starting next month, but you can. I'm also offering to buy a copy here. I basically talked with Richard over at Iron Age and said, "Yeah, I can get you some copies." And so basically, I will sign those. I will sign the story in those, and then you can have an extra when you if you order that through here. All right, scrolling down a little more, we got page 6 here, and again, this beautiful horse drawn by Jim O'Reilly. He's an I don't say extravagant, but uh, precision is Jim's game, and this is just beautiful, beautiful art. And again, if you look at my you look at the lettering for this, I tried to do again. I tried to give you a picture of what comics were at their height. And again, I think the height of comics was 19 in the 1980s. So you get Comic Sans. I love Comic Sans, which is your font. And also there is a stress. If you look at old Marvel, Conan the Barbarians, you get stressed words within your word balloons and within your storytelling. And they're there for a very specific reason and to heighten the story and its experience. All right. Now, here is one of the pinup posters that you can get. This is one of the cheapest pinup poster you can get because it's just a headshot, although it's an intense headshot. It's basically an army poster saying join the King's Army today. But I had to use this. Jim O'Reilly just did such a beautiful job on it. And again, I'm not sure if Ibrahim colored this or I got someone else to color. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyways, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And yeah, if you want an army, as if it were a faux army pinup poster in your Uncle Sam, join the army today. Here's King saying, join the King's Army today. Treasure and an honorable death await you in the borderlands. If that doesn't get you going, I don't know what. Well, if that doesn't make you want to join King's Army, what else? What else would you do? It reminds me of when I was doing it up. It reminds me of King Louis. There's a medieval Crusader song about King Louis, which the Crusaders sung, and it's still around. You can hear it. I think it's on YouTube somewhere, at least once. And it's in, I don't know if it's in Old French or Latin, one or the other. I can't remember. But it goes and it talks about King Louis and trying to organize people for battle. And the song says, you have to go and join King Louis's army. I mean, you might lose your life, but he's losing entire cities. So, your life is not that much, not compared to what the king is losing. So, yeah, that's what it reminds me when I actually decided to put up this poster as a Join the King's Army poster. Anyways, scrolling down a little more, here we have page 7. And again, beautiful, beautiful art by Jim O'Reilly. And you can stop and read all of this story if you go on over to the page for Indiegogo. The link is in the description for it. Then you have I give you the first 2 pages of the Morning Light story. The entire first 2 pages are here. First one here. The second one is down a little bit further. That is my print story. Again, that is in the world of CROM the Destroyer. It's very much, I took Robert E. Howard's style and I said, I'm going to write in a Robert E. Howard style as much as I possibly can. So if you're wondering, do I normally write like this? I write in the way that I'm trying to imitate the greats so that I can learn from them. And so that's what I'm doing here. I can imitate a lot of different styles. And that's what I'm doing with Robert E. Howard for these Morning Light stories. The Morning Light story. There's going to be more. So we have page 8 here, and it's not colored, but that's done on purpose because you can either get this book as you can either get it as, we'll open up this perk here. You can get it as a graphic novel or as a black and white magazine. Now, the graphic novel is colored and it is a normal comic size, whereas you get a normal magazine size with the black and white so that you can see these pencils even better. It's 8.5 by 11. So think Savage Sword of Conan. That's the size you're going to get with the black and white stuff if you ordered the black and white. So that's why I give you some black and white pages here at the end. There's the second page for Morning Light, again, if you want to read that. And then we have another pencil page, what you're going to be seeing. Although I might tweak to make it a little bit darker to bring out the pencils for Jim and for Nick for the art piece, which is the magazine. Again, we have here page 9, which is again lettered, so you can keep on reading. Let's see. I think we're missing something here. Hasn't loaded for me. Give me a second. I'll go back to the chat and just see if there's any more questions. We'll take this beautiful picture of King and put him right there in the center. defending himself in battle. Let's see, scrolling up here for a little bit. See if there's anything else here. Oh, Jim O'Reilly's in the chat. Thank you for coming, Jim. We're looking at your spectacular art. So, Jim O'Reilly, if you're talking to him in the chat, yes, that is the Jim O'Reilly who is doing all of this spectacular art for chapter 1. So, scrolling down here a little bit more. Scrolling down, and people are congratulating Jim on his superior work. So he is awesome. I completely agree, Dan. Great looking book. It is, and Jim is just killing it with these pages. So let's take a look at what else we have here. Jones says, I think I'll prefer the CROM series over Valiant Heroes, though I did enjoy Valiant. Definitely top 25% of the CG books I backed. Well, thank you very much. I try to be the cream of the crop. I know that I only have a small channel, and I'm nowhere even close to catching up to the big guys. I'm in the middle of the pack. If you look at a lot of CG stuff, there's the low end, and then there's the middle of the pack, and then there's the high end where you get people like Richard Meyer and of course Ethan Van Sciver, and Young Ripper is not even on the scale. He's so high, but I mean, I'm in the middle of the pack, and I try to give you as great a story as I possibly can draw out of, and I give you the best art I can, come across and afford. And this is what's going to sell my books, and this is what's going to help me produce these books and make them better, is that I'm going to give you something of merit, and it's going to be the top notch of what I can give you. So to hear you say that it's in the top 25% of CG books that you backed, that is a extreme compliment. Thank you very much. Let's see. I'll hide this comment and scroll down just a little more. Jim is expressing a sentiment that I want to double. It says, I just want to say that thank you to all backers thus far. You guys are great. I completely, wholeheartedly agree 100%. All right, scrolling down a little bit, scrolling down. Let's see if we have any other questions. If you have a question, just put a question mark at the end of it, if at all possible, so that I can pull it out of the chat. And before I move back to the campaign itself, I'll see if we have any more questions. Scrolling down. Let's see. Scrolling down. If we have any more questions, we have a lot of stuff going on. Jim is talking to people in the chat. Great. Let's see. He's talking about his art. I will just let you guys have a good chat. And yeah, someone says Ripa is killing it. Yeah, no kidding. Let's see. Scrolling down. Jones says, I want to read this comment because says, I hate to say this, but Cash Grab was also one of the best CG comics I've backed. Carmen America, Soul Finder, also great. I like Myers and Ethan, but their books just aren't as good. I don't know anything about Cash Grab. I really don't know Cecil at all. He's one of the few people I have not even exchanged a message with or an email with. A lot of people in CG at the middle of the pack I've talked to. I talked to Michael Bancroft all the time, people like that, who are at the same level as me or about the same level in their crowdfunding goals and things like that. I've exchanged a couple of messages here and there with both Richard Meyer, just very brief things, a couple of email, just again, extremely briefly with Ethan. I doubt he probably even remembers my name, but if he does, great. But Cecil is not someone, I think it's Cecil who did Cash Grab, right? He's not someone I've even really come across. I didn't get to read his book. I didn't order it. So it's great to hear that other people putting out such fine work as well. All right, let's see. Scrolling down just a little bit. Someone says, I wish I were active on social media. I don't have any way to signal boost, really. Oh, well. If coming on these live streams and actually participating in them, I think you're signal boosting there as well. So thank you very much. All right, so let's move back to the campaign for CROM, and we'll take a look at let's see here. We're missing a page here. I'm not entirely sure why it's not showing up. Something should be in between there. So it's that's page 9, and then there should be something else there, but there isn't. So here's page 10, and we go to all the way to page 11 before we stop with our preview. And a lot of people are saying this panel by Jim O'Reilly is spectacular, using the sound effect itself as the panel borders, and then having the secondary character outside of the panel borders. It's just inspired. So yeah, great stuff by Jim. When I was talking to Nick on the live stream, I can't remember what live stream. I think it was on Late Night with Comicsgate with Michael Bancroft. Nick and I were talking about his art, and Mike was asking a lot of questions, and he said, "Yeah, I had to bring my A game to the second chapter for the art for this book, because I looked at what Jim O'Reilly was doing for the first chapter, and I said, well, I can't. I need to go to that level. I mean, I need to shine just as well as this art from Jim O'Reilly." So that gave him an extra oomph, although Nick's art is spectacular in itself. We'll get to some of that in a minute. So that's page 10, and here's page 11. And again, we have some great battle scenes and action. I try to make my battle scenes flow as much as possible. If you've watched my Saturday video about the best fight scene ever, I think it's the best fight scene in comics was between Wolverine and Silver Samurai. It was done by Paul Smith, and it flows, and it gives you just enough of sequential art to allow your mind to fill in the blanks and flow with the actions. And I try to do the exact same thing with my book, and give the script to my artist, so that when you're in a battle scene, you can follow what's going on, and everything's well enough, logical enough, and clear enough so that you can figure out what's going on in this battle. All right, so let's see. There's a couple of things I want to just skip over. Here we have some art here from chapter 2, just panels. I don't want to give everything away with giving entire pages from chapter 2, but we have panels from chapter 2. This is Nick Axe art. So like I said, he said he had to, make sure that his art was just going to not be outshone by Jim O'Reilly. He needed to make his just as good, and he does. It's spectacular stuff. So these are panels from the first of chapter 2, because we have Jim working on chapter 1. We're about 3/4 of the way, not quite, in chapter 1. Jim is already finished. And then we have Nick working on chapter 2. He's about 5 pages in as of now. And of course, everything here you see with all the pinup posters, they're already ready to go. Morning Light as a story, that's already ready to go. The cards, all of that's ready to go. So we have a fair amount done on the campaign already. So let's go through the tiers here. There's the number 1 tier, which is just your simple ordering of the book. You can order the book for $25. Now, there's 2 SKUs for this. So when you get this perk, you'll see this pop up, and then you can select whether or not you want a graphic novel or the magazine format. Now, if you want both, there's another perk down a little farther so that you can do that as well. So that's how you do that. And you can order whichever one you want. They cost exactly the same. Here you have the King's Army pinup. And again, that's only $4. That's the cheapest one. I didn't include it with the other ones because it's fairly simplistic. So I wanted to give it at a bargain price. Then you can go to this tier where you can get one of the pinups. There's 3 pinups. You see them in the background, the 2 from Luke and the 1 from Henry. And again, once you click on this, you'll take a look and see what you can get. This is with the book. You get the book plus a pinup poster. Pinup posters are, what's the scale of the pinup posters? 11 by 17, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. It says down here a little bit further. Yeah, 11 by 17. I have so many numbers running through my head, it's hard to keep track sometimes. So yeah, with this one, again, if you want to get this perk and you want to pick just one of the posters, again, you go first of all and pick which book you want, whether the graphic novel or the magazine, and then you can go to the pinup posters and click on here, and it gives you the selection of which pinup poster you want, whether you want the Harpy Attack one or the Moon Rising or the Flaming Snakes one. So that's how you navigate that. fairly simple once you start clicking on things. Here you have the oversized cards. Same thing works here. Again, these oversized cards are the same size as the book itself if you're getting the graphic novel. So if you get this perk, you can choose whether or not you get the graphic novel or the magazine. Then you can move down to the cards and you can select which one of those you want, the Demon Lance or the Demon Mask one. So that's for the oversized cards. Let's move down a little farther and you get the perks. Whoops, wrong tab here. Here you have the Morning Light story. This is my story, which is the text story again, which will be printed separately for those who want to see that story. Here's the perk where you can get both oversized cards. You get them at a discount if you order both of them at once. So there's no SKUs there. You just order this and it's straight to, well, you get to choose whether or not you want the magazine or the graphic novel. Scrolling down, you get the 3 pinups. Again, when you can order all 3 at once, you get a discount. So that's why there's different perks for these different things, because if the more you order, the more of a discount you're going to get. And again, here's the cloth map, which a lot of people are saying that they ordered, which thank you very much. I love maps. And I love the fact that everybody else loves maps. So here's the perk where you can get both the graphic novel, the colored version, and the black and white magazine, which is larger, of course. So you can get both of those at once. And again, they're both the same, they cost the same. However, so $25 a piece, but you get a discount if you order both of them at once, of course. And then we have the perks where you can get 2 graphic novels or 2 magazines, again with a discount. There's a perk here where you can get Anvil's Iron Age magazine #2 along with CROM the Destroyer, which again of your choice, whether it's the magazine or the graphic novel. And we're doing this because I talked to Richard over at Anvil, and yeah, they're going to be publishing their book before we actually go to print. So this will be available to me so that when it comes to fulfill my campaign for CROM, then we will have all the Anvil magazines that we will need. And I will be signing those. If you see here, you get the magazine, and the Morning Light story will be in there signed by me. So you can get it there as well. It'll be in a different format than what you would get from me. So just be aware, same story, but in a different format. Then you can get the full bundle here. Full bundle is everything. Of course, everything from my campaign. The full bundle does not include the Anvil Iron Age magazine because that's technically not from my campaign. Richard and I have worked it out so that I could offer this tier here, where you can get Anvil Iron Age magazine #2. But with the full bundle, you get the story anyways, because you'll get it with the Morning Light story. So you get CROM the graphic novel, you get CROM the magazine format, which is black and white. You get the Morning Light poster pinup, you get the King's Army poster pinup. So you get the cloth map, you get the Harpy Attack pinup, you get the Moon Rising pinup, you get the Snake Flames pinup, you get the Demon Mask oversized cards, you get the Demon Lance oversized card. So that's everything that we are generating specifically for this campaign. And again, you get your discount there, which less than $100 for everything. So hopefully that's a good deal. It seems like 23 people have certainly agreed it's a good deal. And I do have a couple of things here at the bottom, which you might not have seen as of yet, because I added something to the campaign after we opened. Of course, we have the retailer tier here. If anybody wants to buy as a retailer 5 magazines or 5 graphic novels, you can get them at a discount. So basically, you can get 5 for the price of 4 if you're a retailer and wanted to order them. But here's the new thing that is added to the bottom of the campaign. We have added a CROM original art for the cover, and it's a hefty price, I know, but if for someone wants to pay for that original art, it is the original hand done art by Nick Axe for the cover. And again, if you'll notice, if you open up this tier, it says CROM original cover art by Nick Axe will be shipped separately, because of course this is huge compared to what I'm going to be shipping, and Nick will be shipping it himself, and that's why all money for the sale goes to the artist Nick Axe, available immediately. So you can get that immediately. We also, I've been talking to Jim. Jim wants to put some up for the pages that he has as well. And again, if you've already ordered and want to order one of these things, it's not going to affect your order at all. You can order twice and you're not going to be paying any, well, You're going to be paying the shipping separately for the original art anyways. And again, all the money is going towards the artists for that because I want to give that bonus to my artists if at all possible. So here we got to the end of the perks. And so that's what's going on with CROM the Destroyer. I love this picture that Jim did for one of the characters. So let's go back over to my chat and see what's going on here. How long have I been talking? About 35 minutes. Let's see if we have anything else, anyone else that has questions. Let me scroll up a little bit here to make sure I can get to where I left off. So scrolling down again. So let's see. Elias is talking about Cash Grab. Cash Grab was lewd, very lowbrow, but it had technical excellence, right dialogue versus action, pacing, just enough exposition, etc. on lowbrow stuff. If that skill could be directed towards virtue. That's funny. Well, I am glad. I know that other people are putting out different kinds of books than me, and that's great as long as we see merit within these books. That's what we need. We need to build up an industry once again of merit because it's been purposefully destroyed within the major comic companies and really within even indie comics themselves. If you want to call what some of these people put out comics, they're more propaganda pamphlets. But anyways, we need to build up merit. And again, no matter what kind of book it's going out there, if it has merit, then yeah, let's back that. Let's support that. So scrolling down a little bit and see if we got any more. Jim says Nick Axe's art is fantastic. Can't wait to see it all. Truly inspires me too. So yeah, I will say that the inspiration goes both ways, Jim. So both of you are feeding off each other, which is great. John has to take off. He says good night. John is a hardworking man and he has to get to bed. So once again, if you want a good showcase of comics, go over to John's Long Box on YouTube. Let's see. Scrolling down a little bit. Da-da-da. George has a question, or not really a question, a comment here. George always has good comments. He says, yeah, I got tired of new Marvel Conan, not 80s Conan, where in the battle scenes there is no blood or limb removal. They actually made Conan rated G. I find they just nerfed the character. I talked about this last week when I was on the live stream, I think it was. Yeah, the new stuff for the Conan. I don't know about the new Conan that's coming out from, I can't remember who the new Conan comes out. I think it came out this week, actually. It comes out tomorrow, or today's Wednesday, so it'll come out today. I think the new Conan comes out today. It's not from Marvel, although they're using the same team. But yeah, that the new Marvel stuff was awful, just story wise. I mean, there was some really good art, but art does not make a good comic if it doesn't have a story to support it. So let's see. Here's a question here. What exactly are these cards and how are they different from the posters? Well, again, they're a different size. People were asking me, can I get a poster that isn't going to be folded because I wanted to put them up in a picture frame and put them on my wall, something like that. And I didn't want the crease in it. And I can't do that with the posters themselves. Again, I can't roll posters and sell them that way because that would triple the cost of shipping for everybody. It's just so expensive to actually ship that way. So I decided I'd come up with this. You get the oversized cards. So they're the size of a normal comic, but they're on heavy card stock. So it's not going to be a floppy little piece of paper, or nor is it going to be even poster paper. It's going to be a card paper, so that it's going to be nice and heavy. But again, it's the size of a comic. So if that's what I mean by oversized card. So if you want to, if it was for those people, again, we had to use this art. It's spectacular. There's no way we could pass it by and not use it. So I wanted to give people those options, and at the same time, give them something that they could put into a picture frame if they wanted, because honestly, people were asking for it. Jim is going to have to take off. Let's see, scrolling down a little more. Here we got a question here. Michael says, what is your opinion on that 90s trope where the female villain was super attractive? Well, let me give you super attractive For my villain here. This is one of my villains. You want that super attractive? There you go. Super attractive villain right there. There's Demon Lance. Um, she is super attractive if you ask me. But I find that the problem with the difference between the 80s super attractive and the 90s was suggestive. And suggestive to me takes your mind out of the story and puts it towards some other venue of thinking. Let's put it that way. Of seeing beautiful women. So I want to do it in the John Buscema way, give you beautiful women, but they're going to have to, be part of the story. So that's my take on that. Again, as long as it doesn't take away from the story. And I think for a lot of 90s stuff, certainly the further you get into the 90s, you get that. A lot of the image guys do that. They broke that I guess it would be that barrier that was there for so long within comics where you could just show uh, attractive, beautiful women without having to make it lewd in any way. But anyway, scrolling down a little bit. Let's see. Scrolling down, people are talking about great. George talking about some great, beautiful women that are villains indeed. Goblin Queen is a great villain. I love those runs from Marvel with um, it's X-Men as well as X Factor. I think there's more X Factor that she was in than X-Men. But yeah, White Queen, Black Cat, great characters. And again, beautiful women. Let's see. We have a question here. Jones says the female villain having a form of what form of portrait of Dorian Gray thing. So I'm not sure he's talking to me here. So not entirely sure what that comment is referring to. Let's see. Scrolling down. Let's see. Da, 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 da. This character. So George says, looks like CROM is wearing a Japanese Oni mask. Yeah. So the character that Jim created, that I gave him some direction for some ideas, and this is what he came up with visually. Um, we have a character that is actually see we have the flaming sword here, and it all ties into the mask and the flaming sword with power. So yeah, this is part of the drama in chapter 2. So again, I don't want to give it away, but you're on the right track there, George. Just give it to you that way. Oh, Titan Comics. George says Titan Comics is doing the Conan. Yes, correct. I think it does come out today, if I'm not mistaken. There was a preview that came out on Free Comic Book Day. I'll have to go into my comic book store probably on Friday, see if there's any copies left. But I want to check out, see what it looks like. There's beautiful art for that, but we're nipping at their heels. I'll tell you right now, with this art that I have from Nick and from Jim. Yeah, we're nipping at their heels for spectacular art. Let's see if we can catch them. So let's see. Yes, I agree. The Free Comic Book Day was pretty good. The Conan stuff that was given away. All right, so we've gone over the campaign, and I want to thank everyone who has showed up here. If you have any other questions, stick them in the chat before we take off here. Just wanted to do this live stream in case people were a little bit confused about how to navigate Indiegogo, maybe for the first time, or for the fact that this is the first time I've used different SKUs in order to have the ability to click on a perk and then choose from within that whether or not you're getting, let's say, the graphic novel as opposed to the black and white magazine format, all that kind of thing. So let's see. Excuse me. A lot of people, let's see. There's a comment here about Madeline Pryor, and I just got to put it up because I love Madeline Pryor as a character as well. Goblin Queen and Madeline Pryor, some of the best stories told about those characters, the X-Men characters in X Factor and X-Men when that originally came out in Inferno. I just want to stick this in there. There is a spectacular poster that came along with Inferno. And it was up on the wall of the comic shop. when it came out originally. It's basically, if you've seen it before, a line of bodies of not just the X-Men, but X Factor and Excalibur and the New Mutants and all of that. And I tried my darndest to get that poster because it was an advertisement poster. And what the comic shop would do, where I went to, was that when they're done with the posters themselves, they would just give them away. So you could just reserve them and say, I'd like that poster. And they put your name on it and you'd give it to you. But when I walked in and saw that poster, I so wanted that poster. It was so spectacular and you couldn't buy it. But someone had already grabbed it up. They already put their name on it. So I do have other Inferno posters that I had up on my wall forever and a day. So yeah, those are characters that I loved as well. All right, Sound Engraver has made it into the chat. How you doing, Sound Engraver? Let's see. A lot of people talking about Madeline Pryor and a lot of the great stories for X-Men, and again, beautiful women and beautiful beautiful villain women. I think there's a special place for beautiful villains. That is to say, beautiful women that are villains. And it is something that is very attractive to the comic eye. Let's just put it that way. So, scrolling down. Da-da-da-da. Let's see. We have a comment here saying, what is this, Michael? I did want the black and white version, but I got to have color because sometimes I can't tell the difference between characters in black and white. Yep. Well, again, I wanted to offer it in black and white as well because it shows off the spectacular detail of the pencils. Yes, you might lose a little bit of depth, but it's very much of the vein of Savage Sword of Conan. So wanted to give that as well for everybody. So this is a callback to great comics and the way that they can be sold in different formats. Again, always trying to bring back the greatness of comics and when comics were great. And again, as I said several times already in this live stream, I think that's the mid 80s where that peaked. All right, so let's see. Let's see. George says, not to rub salt in the wound, RJ, but I was cleaning out my shed and found that poster. Sims and Madeline Pryor standing over the bodies of the X teams was epic. I agree. Mark Silvestri, yes. I couldn't get that poster. I'm sure I could find a copy of it now with the internet, but quite honestly, just to talk about comic buying and comic collecting right now, I love comics and I love reading comics, but it's gotten to the point where I just want to buy comics and comic stuff to read the story. I don't care about how much they cost. I mean, I need to be able to afford them, but at the same time, I don't care what they go up in cost, what they go down in cost. I just want to read the darn things because to me, part of comic collecting back in the day was the hunt. And you had to hunt for things. You had to go to different comic shops. You had to haggle with the guys behind the counter. It was all part of the fun of actually being a comic collector. And that's gone. All of that is gone because of the fact that you can get anything now on the internet. You can just say, yeah, give me that. I want this. Just go to mycomicshop.com or whatever else and just order, and you can get any book that you want. And while, yeah, that's great and all, and you can probably get digital versions of them if you want to. To me, a digital version is not actually a comic. I'm a stickler, and I know that this is just me, and I don't want to push this on other people. But to me, that's not a comic. You don't have a physical copy of it in your hand. That's not a comic. That's something else, a different kind of medium. And it will be probably something that will be redefined in the future. But again, the physical copy and getting your hands on that physical copy. I used to run from store to store to store before we even had a comic shop in the town that I was living at when I was a kid. I had to run from store to store to store to find the books that I wanted. There was no way I could guarantee that I was going to get the next book in the series before there was a comic shop. And it was part of the fun. It was part of, I mean, you thought of it as a drag at the time, but yeah, going from grocery store to 7-Eleven to the drugstore to, I don't know, the place that no one else goes to because they're just, have beat up old comics sitting on a bench, things like that. that was part of comic collecting to me. And since that's gone, since you can just order things now on the internet, and if you go into a comic shop, there's no haggling anymore. I find that they don't even have prices on things. You bring them to the tiller, and they say, "Yeah, I'm going to look it up now, and we'll see how much it costs." And I'm thinking to myself, you're just killing all the fun. I mean, yeah, sure, I found this book that I really want, and I've always wanted, or things like that, and I'm going to buy it. But you're a downer, man. I can't haggle with you. I can't find a bargain back in the bargain bins. I can't just run across something that's in the long boxes and think, wow, they forgot to reprice this. And I know that's gonna kill when that happens, that kills the little guy who owns the comic shop. Still, that hunt is gone, and I miss it severely. So yeah, I could get that poster. The reason I went off on that tangent was, George, I could get that poster, I'm sure now, but first of all, I don't have room. It would be destroyed in the place where I live right now. We're very backwoodsy here, but at the same time, just ordering it online or printing it off or anything else, it's not the same. It's not the same. So that hunt is missing. So I don't know if anybody else feels that way. That's my little rant about comics and comic collecting. So let's see here. Scrolling down a little bit more. George talking a little bit more. Let's see. Whoops. All right, let's see. Scrolling down, scrolling down. Here's a comment which I can relate to. I miss Magic the way she was before the progressives got a hold of the New Mutants. She was Madeline Pryor, but she always fought hard to overcome her corruption. I completely agree. This is our stream is turning into what happened to completely agree completely agree with everything you just said. One of the videos that I just did, I think it was 2 weeks ago, was talking about this nut job on Twitter who's talking about X-Men, and it was one of the Mark Silvestri X-Men Boys Night Out or something like that, and how he's trying to shoehorn in all of this back end stuff, saying, oh, it was this kind of progressive story, yada yada yada. And for part of that, I went to his YouTube channel to see some of his lectures, and some of his lectures were about magic and how it was an allegory for, I don't know, some kind of alphabet people stuff, with the fact that, and he brought it into, I don't even want to talk about it, but I will, just because it's disturbing where these people's minds go. He had to drag it into the fact that when Benjik was taken into limbo, according to him, she suffered sexual abuse at the hands of the demons. And I'm like, dude, why are you even going there? Why does your mind even go there? She went to a hell dimension. Okay. Just why in the world? This is, and it's a hell dimension in 80s comics. I'm sorry, but it's not going there. That's not where they meant to go with the story. You're demented. Anyways, that's not where my mind went, and I don't think that's where they wanted the minds of the little kids, because there was mostly little kids, teenagers and younger, reading those comics back in the mid 80s when Magic's original miniseries came out. Yeah, I completely agree. I had posters of Magic on my wall when I was growing up, and one of the ones that I used to draw over and over again was the Art Adams version of Magic, especially from the Asgard saga. Yeah, I used to love drawing that character. And it was, they completely ruined that character, completely ruined it. Let's see. Scrolling down a little more. If we have any more, a lot of people talking about Magic and Inferno. Let's see. Scrolling down a little more. If we have any more comments, because I think we're going to wrap it up pretty soon, coming close to my hour here. George says, oh, he's talking to someone else in the chat, so I'll just take that off there. Let's see here. I don't want to intrude on your conversation, so I think we've got down to the end of the chat. Although George, I think, agrees with me here. He says, that didn't happen. Sims did want to do that to Magic, but I can't remember how to actually pronounce this. Nas, well, I can't pronounce it. Protected her and prevented that from happening. All right. So let's see. Scrolling down. Um, Here's an interesting question to we're getting down to the end of the chat. Tony says, what do you think was a better who do you think was a better crime fighter, the Shadow or Batman? Honestly, I don't think of Batman as a crime fighter. I think of Batman as a detective. There's a difference. And I think that Shadow was a crime fighter. Um, Shadow had his own league of, let's say, I don't know, informants all over the town and all that kind of stuff. They did the legwork. They did the detective work, and he did contribute to it. But at the very last, he would step in and do the heroics part of it. But at the same time, I don't see them as on the same footing because for me, anyways, again, I always say this about Batman. If we move step off of the Neil Adams Batman into the oh, I can't remember who was writing it, whether it was Denny O'Neil at that time or not. Um, when you had Jim Aparo doing the art, that's my Batman, and that was very much a Batman who was a detective. You even had books where there was at least one where he interacted with Sherlock Holmes because he's supposed to be the new Sherlock Holmes. You always had Raj Al Ghosh talking to him, calling him in the detective. You know, so to me, the Shadow would be the better crime fighter because he's more of a crime fighter, whereas the Batman crime fighting should come secondarily to the detective work that actually gets him to where he wants to be and puts him in that position. So that's my take on the entire thing. Let's see. Let's see. Scrolling down a little more. Says, I love your topics, man. Your your art at the beginning of those videos reminds me of the good old days. That's what I want to do. That's exactly what I want to do. The good old days of comics can come back. We just need to foster a industry, even though it's small and tiny, an industry where merit matters and the customer gets what they want. So I've gotten to the end of the chat. I want to thank everyone for coming and everyone showing up for this live stream. I especially want to thank everyone who has ordered CROM the Destroyer. This is the campaign for my newest graphic novel here in the background. We've hit 9,000, over 9,000 for our first 5 days. And you can order the book if you have not already. It is the link for it is in the description of this video, and I put it in the link for any of my new videos as well. And I tried to put it in the pinned comment for the new videos that I usually do on a Saturday, sometimes a Sunday. So again, a double thank you to everyone and who ordered the book. And oh, look, I got a super chat. I can't leave now. Owl has given me a super chat of $4.99. He says, besides your own comic, what would you recommend to read today? Comic, manga, graphic novel? Hmm. Uh, I don't know at this point because I was for the last couple of years trying to get back into my comic shop, trying to get back into new comics, and it was such a drag. Honestly, there wasn't anything that really struck my fancy. The Conan stuff from Marvel had some stories that were okay. The Savage Avengers started out okay and then really took a turn for the worse. Maybe this new Titan version of Conan, it's supposed to have the same team as the Marvel Conan books that came out a year or so ago. So I'm not entirely sure. For the writers, anyways, it has an artist that is very much of the Gil Kane school, I think. His art is I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but his art is spectacular. So maybe that. But besides that, I wish I could recommend manga to someone, but I'm just not a big manga fan. Again, to me, it's all physical. It's all a physical copy. If I can't get a physical copy, I really just don't want to read it. I spend too much time in front of a computer screen to begin with, and I don't want to read a comic off a computer screen or a manga. And the problem is, manga is a little bit hard to get at where I am. And if someone were to do the innovation thing now, today, for me, anyways, the innovation thing was back in the 80s, they would take manga and publish them in comic book format for a American audience. I would buy Probably the entire run of something like Sword Art Online, or certainly Berserk, or all of these kinds of things. I'm sure they've probably been published in that format if I could find them, but I usually only buy physical things I can find within the comic shops that I can get to. So if they're not there, I just don't get them. So again, I wish I could um, tell you of some good manga that are out there, but I just don't follow them because I don't have the resources to. Besides that, graphic novels and things like that. Uh, Again, it would just be crowdfunded stuff, really, at this point. Things that I order, I've ordered Michael Bancroft's The Lucent. I have Soul Finder, things like that. Again, the crowdfunded stuff, you try to pick and choose. You want to support the ones that hopefully are going to do well and you want to see more of. Um, Again, Clint Stoker's stuff is not too bad. Charlie Snowgan's originally was, we were supposed to do a book together, but he went over to Clint because I was dragging my feet a little bit too much. So spectacular art there, I'll tell you right now, especially within his Fatal series. So things like that. Yeah. Besides that, right now I'm getting back into old pulps. That's what I'm doing. Um, Owl. That's really what I'm doing. I'm getting back into old pulp stories, and looking for inspiration from them. Again, it's so easy. Um, I Because of the very fact that it's the very opposite of, I don't need a physical copy of these pulp stories. Usually, I'm working at my computer doing stuff, lettering pages, or going through art, or putting stuff together, and I just put on an old pulp story in the background because people have read them. Most of them are now in the public domain, if not here, at the very least in Europe, so you can get to them on YouTube, things like that. So that's what I recommend for people today. Go back to those great pulp stories, and try and figure out what genre that is yours, because there's plenty of them out there, whether it be the Shadow if you're a Batman fan, or just plain old Conan if you're a Conan fan. You could also stick in there Cull, and Solomon Kane, and a whole bunch of others, John Carter, Warlord of Mars, so many others. Go back to Tarzan. There's so much out there for old media. That is the way to go right now, until we get more traction with what we're doing with crowdfunded comics, and try to get merit back into the system of creating comics. So let's see. uh George says this was the 89 Batman. I think he's talking about the Jim Aparo one. Batman was the best. He actually did detective work in that movie. Oh, he's talking about Batman 89, which was the movie. Yes. Let's see, scrolling down. Let's see, scrolling down. I got a couple more comments here. Uh, let's see. We have a comment here. Thank you very much for tagging me in it so that I could pick it out right away. RJ, what do you think? What do you think it's the future of the US comic industry will look like? More the Japanese and European comics, where there's no centralism in the industry, be like 1,000 companies? No, no, I don't think so. This is what I talked about a little bit in the video I did a couple weeks ago, of the difference between a American fight scene within a comic and a Japanese fight scene within a manga. They're different. And here's the thing: Japanese have already done this, and I have continued to do this. They don't shy away from the fact that they borrowed so much from comics in the 80s and the 90s. I'd say more the 80s, in order to build up the manga industry. Not really to create it, but to build it up in that time, as a reflection of absorbing in American ideas. And again, American ideas played off the same thing, and did so for manga. But at the same time, when a Japanese company or producer of a manga absorbs those American ideas, he does it in a way that allows him to make it Japanese, but at the same time brings it into a different kind of medium. Whereas if you get the reverse happening, and you get Americans actually absorbing these ideas, and I mean absorbing them in the traditional way, in the way that your quote unquote progressive people would not have them do today, which they would call cultural appropriation. When you have that, Americans make it their own. It's, yeah, I'm going to take this thing that you have, and it's very much a European thing, very much a Greek thing. You go back to the ancient Greeks; they did so with the Phoenicians. We've our numbering system with the way that it came into European society, everything. We do it. We make it our own. It's not, I'm going to do this and bring it in. And yes, it's a tipping of the hat towards Japanese culture. No, it's, I'm going to make this Japanese thing mine. And we're going to make it into great Americana. And we're going to use it to make American things. That's what is, I think, going to happen with the future of the comic industry. Once we get back to a merit system, once we, and again, that's probably a long ways away still. But once the companies actually get back to a merit system, there's going to be a few that are going to emerge from the pile. That's the American way. The smaller ones are going to get crushed. The bigger ones are going to rise to the top. The cream of the crop is going to rise, and they're going to absorb these ideas and make them American. And that's what's going to happen. And again, people will laugh at me that are manga enthusiasts and anime watchers and things like that, saying, that's never going to happen. Trust me, I've lived long enough to know that, yeah, that's going to happen again, because it's already happened a number of times, especially when you look at history. Once America gets back on its feet and gets back to a merit-based system, we're going to see things take off. And hopefully, we're going to be a part of that. We're going to be the ground floor, not only as customers, but as producers of these things. And that's what we're doing right now. All right. So let's see, scrolling down. We got anything else before we take off? Because we've gone over our hour. I like to keep it at an hour so I don't drag everybody down. Let's see. People talking about Tarzan. Yeah, I've been posting some things on my Twitter, which is RJ of the Island. If you want to go back me there or follow me there, there's some Tarzan stuff, there's some Conan stuff, there's some Red Sonja stuff, some Solomon Kane things, inspirational stuff for fantasy art. So great stuff. Who would win a fight, Color Conan? That's a hard one to say. I'd probably say Conan, but I'm not entirely sure. That's a really hard question. Let's see, scrolling down a little bit more. Tony says Cole would definitely win. Well, I am going to take off now. Like I said, I want to thank everyone for showing up, and thank you everybody for backing CROM the Destroyer if you have, if you intend to. We're going to be open for another 55 days. So you got some time. Hopefully you're going to get a chance, if you haven't already, to order the book. And we're going to bring merit back to American comics, and we're going to make American comics great again. So thank you very much. And thank you everyone for showing up. And I am going to do my normal outro by giving everybody the second trailer for CROM the Destroyer, the 45-second trailer. I'll show that. And everyone, thank you for showing up. Bye.
No matter how many wars you fight, no matter how much blood you shed, no matter how much rage you loose, no matter how many demons you face, no matter how many companions you lose, no matter if our kingdom falls, I know that you will return to me in honor.